You won't believe what happened next. Ricky Nelson, one of America's first teen idols, died in a fiery plane crash on New Year's Eve 1985. Newspapers said he was broke. Divorce wiped out his savings. Creditors were closing in, and it looked like his 4 kids would inherit nothing but heartbreak. But then, a shocking twist. His brother found a hidden will, and lawyers uncovered decades of theft by major record labels. What came next didn't just turn everything around. It made his children millionaires. But one son got absolutely nothing, and the reason why will leave your jaw on the floor. Ricky Nelson wasn't born famous, but it sure didn't take long. He came into the world on May 8, 1940, in Teaneck, New Jersey, to a jazz band leader dad and a Hollywood actress mom. While most toddlers were learning to walk, Ricky was already part of a national radio show, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. The Nelsons weren't just a family, they were a brand. Imagine growing up where every meal might turn into a rehearsal, every vacation a photo op. That was Ricky's childhood. Cameras, microphones, and endless expectations. By 8, Ricky and his brother David were regulars on the show, playing themselves. It was America's first taste of a real-life TV family, long before reality shows were a thing, and audiences loved them. Ricky, especially, had that quiet charm, mostly because he was quiet. He suffered from severe asthma and often stayed indoors, reading or listening to music while other kids were out playing. That introspective nature, it became part of his appeal. Then came 1957. Ricky, still just 17, performed I'm Walkin' on national television. And boom, a star was born. Girls screamed, radios blared, and his single flew off shelves. His debut album hit #1, and he became the youngest artist at the time to top the charts. But behind the scenes, it wasn't all rock and roll dreams. His parents, especially his dad, Ozzie, ran a tight ship. Ricky made thousands but only saw a tiny allowance. They didn't want fame to spoil him, but it was too late. Fame had already changed everything. Off camera, Ricky was a teenager on fire, dating co-stars, sneaking out to parties, living fast while his image stayed squeaky clean. His relationship with model Marianne Gaba turned steamy, and when he gave her a gold ring, she thought it meant forever. It didn't. Ricky was already on to the next girl, writing music and chasing freedom. Still, the business side of his career was booming. His singles sold millions. His face was everywhere. And his dad's strategy of featuring Ricky's songs at the end of each TV episode? Genius. Every week, millions tuned in, and his records shot up the charts. But eventually, Ricky wanted more than just being managed. He wanted control. He hired his own band, insisted on artistic choices, and tried to grow beyond the clean-cut image. But when the British invasion hit in the 60s, everything changed. The Beatles wiped the floor with American rockers. Ricky's chart power faded fast. Then came the relationship that nearly ruined him. He met 16-year-old Kristen Harmon on Christmas Day, 1961. She came from Hollywood royalty. Her dad was a football legend, her mom an actress, and her brother would go on to star in hit shows. On the surface, they were the perfect couple, but behind closed doors, it was a mess. Kristen wanted luxury. Rick couldn't say no. Their spending spiraled out of control. Homes, cars, vacations, and by the late 70s, he was deep in debt, touring non-stop just to pay the bills. The marriage? It was toxic. Arguments, accusations, emotional distance, and eventually, Kristen locked him out of their home and moved his stuff into a rental. It got uglier from there. She accused him of drug use. He claimed she drank too much. They spent over $1 million on legal fees before finally divorcing in 1982. Rick got joint custody of their 4 kids, Tracy, Gunnar, Matthew, and Sam. But his finances were wrecked. Desperate to save money and tour efficiently, Rick bought an old DC-3 airplane, a relic from the 1940s that had once belonged to Jerry Lee Lewis. But the thing was a death trap. Mechanical failures were constant. Crew members were terrified, and on December 31st, 1985, disaster struck. Smoke filled the cabin mid-flight. The plane crashed in a field just outside Dallas. It exploded on impact. Only the pilot survived. Rick, his fiancée Helen Blair, and 5 others died in the fire. He was just 45. Then came the chaos. Rick's estate was a mess. He was over $1 million in debt. People thought he died without a will, until his brother David produced one, written just 4 months before the crash. It named only his 4 kids as heirs. Not his ex-wife, not his fiancée, not even his mother. But the biggest shock: Rick had another son. His name was Eric Jude, the result of a short fling with a woman named Georgianne Crew. A paternity test in 1981 confirmed Rick was the father. Still, Rick denied it in his will. Eric got nothing. Legal battles exploded. Kristen fought for life insurance money. Helen Blair's family sued for wrongful death. The mothers of the other crash victims joined in. Creditors came calling. At one point, the estate looked like it would collapse completely. But then came a twist no one saw coming. Turns out, Rick's music catalog was worth a fortune, and record labels had been skimming from him for years. In 2011, his estate sued Capitol Records, claiming the label had underpaid millions in royalties and hidden money in shady accounting tricks. They'd applied outdated deductions, like breakage fees for digital downloads, and refused to show full audit data. The case settled in 2014, and while the numbers weren't made public, insiders called it a massive win. Then, in 2020, the estate sued Sony Music too, this time over streaming royalties. The label had been slashing payouts through shady intercompany charges. The result? Up to 68% of royalties vanished before Rick's heirs saw a dime. This time, the settlement was huge. $12.7 million up front, plus a massive increase in future earnings. The labels thought they were dealing with an old catalog no one would notice. Instead, they'd woken up Rick's legacy, and it was ready to fight back. Today, thanks to those lawsuits, Rick's kids finally earn what their father should have gotten all along. The man who was once thought to have died broke actually left behind a gold mine. But for Eric Jude, the son left out of the will? Nothing. Not a cent. And whether that was right or wrong, well, that's for history to decide. Crazy, right? If you're still here, hit that like button. Subscribe for more wild stories from the lives of legends. Because sometimes, the real drama doesn't happen on stage. It plays out long after the spotlight fades.